Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be working on a hack for the Bridgette Dolman pattern. What I'm going to be doing is, I saw a picture of one of the testers and they actually added some ruffles to the sleeve, and I was like, that is super cute. I want to do that, so we're going to do that. I cut out the crew neck version, long sleeve with the cuff. So that's the option I'm going to be making, and I'm going to be adding this ruffle. Now, let me tell you this. If you wanted to add this ruffle to any other pattern, you can do so. So I'm wearing, this is the Lindsay hoodie, the Lindsay top slash hoodie. That's what I'm wearing right now. And if I wanted to add it to this version, it has two places where I could add it. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna measure the sleeve to see how much you have to add it, but then I would just add it at the two places. Now, if I had a sweater that didn't have a cut on the sleeve, what I would do is I would add length for the seam allowance. So I would add about an inch. My goodness, someone wants to say hello. I would add about an inch of seam allowance, and then I would, well, an inch or a quarter inch, depending on how much seam allowance you're taking out. And then I would cut it where I want the ruffle to be, and then I would add the ruffle there on the sleeve. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out and show you just exactly how you do it. But wanted to say hello. I hope you're having a great day. Let's get started. All right, like I said, I already cut out my pattern. This is the extra fabric I have here that I'm gonna use for the ruffle. And then I have my waistband, and here is those are my cuffs. Here is my sleeve. So this is what I want to look at right here at the top of the sleeve. I only need one because they're both measured the same amount. So I'm gonna have this sleeve, and I'm gonna measure the cap of the sleeve here, the top of the sleeve. Or you can either do that, or you can grab your shirt itself. Well, no, because it's not sewn together, it's a dolman style. But you're gonna grab your sleeve, and where you're going to create that ruffle, you're going to measure that width from one end to the next. And let's say that you have a regular sleeve, you want to put a ruffle on, you have a regular sleeve, you added about a half an inch to an inch. If you want to take a quarter inch seam allowance, then you would add an inch. If you want to take a half an inch seam allowance, you would add what did I just say? If you wanted to add a quarter inch seam allowance, you would add a half an inch. If you wanted to add a half an inch seam allowance, you would add a whole inch. And then you would cut wherever you want that gathered to be, that ruffle to be, and separate it. And the reason why you need that allowance is because then you're gonna sandwich that ruffle. I'm gonna show you that later. You're gonna sandwich that ruffle between the two layers, and then this will need to have seam allowance here to be able to sew it and it not be too short for you. So like, let's pretend that this is the extra, the ruffle. So you will be sewing it on. This is my neckband, so it's not the ruffle. You'll be sewing it on by gathering it and sandwiching it between the sleeve, the bottom part of the sleeve, and the top part of the sleeve. See how that's how you end up doing this ruffle here. And for this dolman style, since the dolman style sleeve, it's like almost looks like a drop shoulder. So it starts like down here, then that's where I'm going to attach the ruffle, because that's where I want the ruffle to be. Now, this is obviously my neckband, so that's not what I need. So this is how I'm gonna measure for the ruffle. I'm gonna start here at one end and go to the other end, and it looks like 13 inches. So then you got to think about how much do you want to add to this ruffle? How gathered do you want this ruffle to be? You can do like 1.5 times the width, or you can do 2 times the width. I may go with 2 times the width because I want it to be noticeable. You know what? Let me go with 2 times the width, and then when I gather it up and look how gathered it looks, then decide if it's too much, and then I can just clip off. I'd rather do that than just do 1.5 and then be like, wah, 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 that wasn't enough, okay? So 2 times would be 26, right? 13 plus 13, you know how I do that. I am such a child. I am so bad at math, but I'll just do like the 6 and the 2. That's an easy one to do, 26. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is also figure out how wide I want the ruffle. Do I want this to hang down like a ruffle? Do I just want it to be like a little ruffle, or do I want it to be like a flounce? right? So you gotta decide that. I want mine to be about an inch and a half. So I don't want it to be super long. I just want it to be like a little piece right here that kind of hangs down. So I'm gonna think about an inch and a half. So I don't want to hem. So I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. If I have my ruffle, this is my neckband once again, but I'm gonna show you on my neckband. If I have my ruffle here, and this is the width I want the ruffle to be twice the size, the width I'm going to want in the end, because what I'm going to do is I'm gonna fold it wrong sides together. That way I don't have to hem the bottom. If I sew the top to it, then I'll have a raw edge at the bottom, which is fine, but I like the finished look. So I'm gonna fold it in half, and this will be the bottom of my ruffle, and this will get sewn on. So the ruffle needs to be twice the size of the width I want my ruffle. Like this is 1 inch, so I would need it 2 inches, which this is 2 inches. But because I want to have also seam allowance, because I'm gonna be attaching it, so then if I want a 1 inch ruffle, I'm gonna cut 2 inches plus the seam allowance. So if I'm taking a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is what I usually take, a 1/4 inch seam allowance, then I'm gonna add a 1/2 inch. Because I'm gonna have 1/4 inch on this side and 1/4 inch on this side. So you've got to take into consideration that you'll have 1/4 inch from both sides, and that will equal to a whole 1/2 inch. So we'll do, if I want to do it at 1 inch, then I would do 2.5 inches, but I want actually an 1.5 inch width. So I'm gonna do it 3.5 inches wide. That's how wide I'm gonna do it. And the length is gonna be, again, 26, because that's double the width of my sleeve. So let me go ahead and cut that out. And then we're gonna literally just sew the top like we would, except for we're going to baste the ruffle onto the sleeve and then attach it together. I'll show you that. I'm gonna cut it on the fold because that might make it easier for me. So here's on the fold, and it's 13 inches on this side, so that's twice. And I said 3.5, right? So that would be 6 plus half, that would be 7. No, plus half, 2 halves, so that's an inch. So that would be 7. So I'm gonna place it right here. That way I've got it nice and even. Yes, my ruler broke. So we're using a broken ruler. Here's the 7. All right, now we've got 3.5. We're gonna go 3.5 here. All right, so now we've got 2 3.5 strips, right? 1, 2. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew up my Bridgette, the parts that I can do right now, because what I want to do is sew up my shoulders of my bodice, front and back, right sides together. One of my magnets is in here, so all the clips are stuck together. All right, so I'm sewing my shoulders together. I'm also gonna go ahead and prep my neckband so I can attach that after. Sewing right sides together at the short raw edge. And then I'm gonna prep my waistband and my armbands, waistband. I'm gonna sew it together at the short raw edge. I just cut it on the fold, so I'm just sewing one side, and then cuffs. You know, I just like to prep everything. Cuffs sewn together at the raw edge, the long raw edge over here. So if you want a more detailed version of how to sew this pattern up and all its different options, we do have a video on that. But like I said earlier, this doesn't just apply to this pattern. This can be done to any pattern. So let me know below what pattern you're going to try this out with. Now that today that I'm wearing this Lindsay top, I'm like, oh my goodness, you could do it on here and here on the Lindsay top. But really you could do it to any top, the oversized tee, any kind of top that you would want to do it to. You would just have to add the seam allowance when you cut up the sleeve. So that's fun. Now for the ruffle, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna fold it wrong sides together, sorry. Everything else was folded right sides together because we're going to sew it and you'll have that seam. But on this one, you're gonna fold it wrong sides together. I keep saying wrong sides together, and I'm gonna put in a gathering stitch at that seam, that edge. Because we're going to gather this to fit our sleeve. So we're gonna put in a gathering stitch. What I'm going to use is I'm going to use a long straight stitch on my sewing machine, like a basting stitch, probably a size 5 is what I'm gonna use, because that's easy to pull and gather. Because it's just a little piece, that's how I'm gonna do it. There's so many methods of gathering, and you can use whatever method of gathering you wanna use. Gathering, what even is gathering? Gathering, but that's the method I wanna use. Speaking of, last time I made a video, you all were asking the question about my sewist sweater. I had a sweater on that said sewist on it, and I had a lot of people ask me about it, and that was actually a store-bought sweater. And the sewist letters I actually got from Surge Fabrics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to purchase some more because they have 3 different colors. I'm gonna go purchase a couple more, and I'm actually gonna make my own sweater using the oversized tee, and add some more letters to it. And I'm trying to figure out, they have a pink, a lime green, and a tan with gold, which is the one I have. And I'm wondering if I should go with the bright pink, because I already have, like I said, I already have the tan one. And I have some fabric that I could use, some gray, it's gray French terry. So I wonder if that would be like a pop of color in the gray French terry. And it will be more like a spring color. I could even make it short sleeve and it'll be more like a t-shirt. I don't know. Comment below and let me know what you think I should do. And might even make it a little tutorial so we can do it together. Would that be fun? All right, I'm turning my length of my stitch to a 5. They are wrong sides together. This is my ruffle. And then I'm gonna go ahead and leave a tail at the end. And then I'm at the beginning. And then I'm gonna also leave a tail at the end as I sew this up. I went about, I would say 1/4 to a 1/2 inch. It really doesn't matter away from the edge. I don't wanna be too close to the edge so it just like spills out and doesn't gather. But I don't want to be too far that the gathers are not even here at the top. I'm going to pull this stitch out after I sew it on, so it doesn't really matter where you put it. All right, so now that I've got all these pieces put together, we can go ahead and start putting it, assembling the pattern. It's like a puzzle. I love it. All right, I've got, here is the shoulder of my top. So this is where my sleeve is going to connect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my ruffle and I'm going to pull that basting stitch. I'm going to put the bobbin thread, pull it to gather it. So I'm going to kind of clip it here at the end. And then I'm going to pull it to gather it the width of my top. Well, the width of my sleeve cap area. Once it's gathered, you can go ahead and spread out those gathers so it will be even all the way through. And I think this two times the width, it's really good. This is a good amount of gathers. It's like a little nice little flutter. I think it's gonna be super cute. Then I'm gonna grab one of my sleeves. Well, I'm gonna grab my sleeves and I'm going to sandwich that ruffle between the shoulder, the sleeve top, the top of the sleeve, and then the bottom of the sleeve. So like if you have split a sleeve, you would put you would sandwich it between the 2 places. If you want to baste this together first, you can go ahead and baste it onto one side of the sleeve first, and then come back and sew it to the other side. It's up to you. I just kind of go for it. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go and sew it on my sewing machine first with a basting stitch, all 3 of them like a sandwich, and then open it up and turn it around and see if it cut all the ruffles and everything, because you want it all to be cut here. Don't let it fall down. If it's kind of coming down at the bottom, just pull it up. And you want it to all have cut together there so that it doesn't the ruffle doesn't fall down. It is kind of a thick sandwich because the ruffle is kind of thick, so you want to make sure that you catch all the edges. So I am going to probably go baste them all together first and then come back and sew them on my serger or do a stretch stitch on my sewing machine. All right, make sure that both sides are good. All right, so there's one. And when you open it, you'll have this cute little ruffle hanging there. It's so cute. You'll see it when oh my goodness. How cute will that gonna be? That's gonna be so adorable. I love it. All right, I'm gonna do the same for the other side. Yeah, this is gonna be adorable. I cannot wait. Now I'm gonna go ahead and finish up sewing. After I sew that up, I'm gonna finish up sewing this sweater just like I would the Bridgette sweater pattern. So if you have any questions on how to sew that up, go ahead and check out that tutorial. I'm gonna go and show you how I sew this and finish it up, and then I'm gonna show you the finished results. I cannot wait. All right, I am gonna go ahead and baste first, so that way I know it's all put together and I don't just go ahead and sew and then like, no, a ruffle came out. So let's do that. All right, and after you baste, you wanna look at the back side. Look, you see that? That bottom piece was not all the way up, so I gotta rebaste and fix that. But that would have, if I would have sewn that all together already, I would have a gap, look at that. My ruffles are hanging out, I would have a gap. That would be a royal mess and I would be really upset. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go from the other side and make sure that I catch everything. The ruffles didn't catch here. You know what? I'm gonna redo it. Look how easy it is. I'm just pulling that basting stitch. Actually, let me put those clips back on so that my ruffle doesn't fall down. And then I'm gonna grab that bobbin thread here. Which one is it? Not the gathered, not the ones for the gathers, but the one that I just sewed. And pull it out. That way I can redo it. Make sure those gathers are up to the point where they're supposed to be and they're not trying to hide from you. Because they will do that. They will try to hide. And let's do this again. I'm going to take it a little bit slower so that way I can make sure that it's all out and I'm not catching anything from underneath I'm not supposed to. Pull those gathers up. Nice and flat. Make sure all of them are even. That's probably what I should have done at the beginning to begin with. But you know, live and learn. I gotta pull the basting stitch from this side because I didn't pull it all the way out. Come out. There we go. Okay, so make sure your bottom piece is up here. Your gathers are there and then your top piece is there. What happens when I'm like rushing? Because it's so cute, I just want to finish. But you also want to do a good job. Make sure they're good. All the way to the corner. And the piece on top. There we go. All right, now let's look at it. This is the old basting stitch. All right, see that? Everything is caught in there. So now I can go ahead and go sew that on with my serger or your stretch stitch because you want to make sure that it's stretchy. You don't want to leave that just a stitch here. That will not work. I'm going to do the other one just the same, the other sleeve, and then we'll go over to my serger. All right, let's go sew it in the serger. Okay, so now that I've got those ruffles on and I made sure that they look good, you can go ahead and give them a steam. And then you just move on to sewing your top just as you would sew your whatever top it is that you're trying to sew. So for this one would be sewing your sides, attaching neckband, then cuffs, and then waistband if you're doing the waistband. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quickly and then come back and show you the finished results. I'm so excited about it because I think it's gonna look super cute. One thing to remember is when you're sewing your sides, you wanna make sure that your ruffles are together and facing down. Don't let them get cut up and twisted when you're sewing them together here. So I usually leave a little bit of an allowance out so I see it, and then I pin it like out on the inside so that the ruffle stays down. And so when I'm sewing, I want to make sure that I catch it correctly. And also, I am not 100% sure if I want to add the waistband or not to this sew. So I may leave it without the waistband first, and you tell me what you think. If I should go ahead and add the waistband, or if I should leave it, I should just go ahead and hem it. All right, friends, we are finished. I love, love, love how this turned out. It is so adorable. I love it. I love this top so much. I am obsessed. I'm gonna have to do this a bunch more times with all the different necklines, with the color blocking, all these cool things. Let me know below what you think, and then also let me know below if I should go ahead and add a waistband or not. I really like it without the waistband. I'll just have to hem it, which I haven't yet. I just left it raw for now because I wasn't sure. So you let me know if I should go ahead and add the waistband or leave it as is with a hem. And tell me what top you're going to be doing this hack to, because it was super simple and it just adds so much to it. It looks super cute. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't, and make sure that you go ahead and check out all our patterns over on our website, and then also check out our Facebook and Instagram where there's a ton more inspiration for sews and stuff like that. So anyway, I will see you all next time. Bye.